Number two is arguments against B. B is the claim that there is a God in existence. And the arguments against that are these. I found four. You will find many if you do your own search. I found these four. Lack of empirical evidence. What's empirical evidence? Straightforward, direct evidence. Feeling, touching, hearing, tasting. Empirical evidence. Yes. I don't have empirical evidence for God's existence. I don't. So it could possibly be an argument. Because we don't see, don't hear, maybe he's not in existence. Yes, it's an argument. But it does not cover all of what we know. Because there are so many other things that I don't see or feel or taste, but I know it exists. Right? Like my mind, my own brain. I don't feel or taste it. My stomach, I don't. And yet, I know it exists. I don't know, I don't have any empirical evidence that water is H2O. But I still believe it, and hundreds of scientists believe it, and it works in science. So yes, empirical evidence is lacking, but lack of that empirical evidence is not a huge, big argument. It could be, but it's not big. Pain and suffering is a big one. There's so much of pain and suffering. So how can anybody say there's a God in existence? It is a tough one, and I will acknowledge it immediately. But on closer evaluation, the presence of pain and suffering is not an argument against the existence of God. It is an argument against the type of God we are claiming there to be, not the existence. Because the God that might be out there is a bad God then. Maybe he does cause pain and suffering, but he's a God anyway. So presence of pain and suffering is not an argument against God, but against the type of God or his attributes, not his existence. Number two, pain and suffering are not the entire spectrum of our experiences on earth. We do experience pain and suffering, but we also experience exquisite joys and pleasures, don't we? All right, then let's be fair. If pain and suffering point to a situation in which there is no God, then what do those exquisite pleasures and joys point to? Yeah? It's a simple argument. And at best, they will cancel each other. So we still are not making a strong enough argument. The same thing with number three, bad design and lack of design. Yes, there is randomness in some of the place experience that we face. You go out to a hillside. How are the rocks over there? In random manner. What are the trees in the jungle? In random manner. How can you explain a little child who got leukemia? Is there a real logical explanation why this little child got leukemia? You stand there nonplussed, deep in grief. There is no explanation. It seems random. Sure, there are places where there is no explanation at all. And yet, again, that is not the last or the only experience that we go through. There's not only just randomness in everything. There is so much of design in our world. And the design is just not ordinary. The design sometimes is so complex and precise that we are amazed. So if there is in one area randomness, no design, and that points to non-existence of God, then what do all this huge, beautiful, intricate, complex design point to? Again, they'll cancel each other. They don't stand. Number four is difficulty with the concept of creation. That's a tough one too. And because of two factors. It is not consistent with any observable phenomenon. I have never seen anyone snap his fingers and a whole mountain range just comes up as created. Have you? No. It is not an observable phenomenon. Number two, it is not in conformity with any scientific law. I cannot appeal to a scientific law to say that that is how creation took place. So it is just a claim, and we have to leave it at that. Yes, it is difficult. But just because we can't explain that doesn't throw it out. It just says that we are deficient in being able to explain it. These 2 points are pretty strong, showing that there is more that we need to establish that statement in fact or in evidence, and therefore we do rest on what is known as belief or faith. Granted that. So we have our arguments on that side. Argument on one column, argument on two. Let's get on to the other side now, to arguments 3 and 4.